global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them. Crises precipitate change.
Secretly plotting your demise. I want to devise a virus.
Now, what do we got to do? Because let's be, and Sarah's right, people's intimidation on this issue is not defined by just Republicans. There are Democrats intimidated by this issue. Wrongly, but intimidated, and they think their politics and their community is such that they can't do this. The truth is, what we need again to get moving on this legislation is put together a crime strategy like we had before, which is why we passed the bill today on the cops, putting money back into putting police officers on there, getting voices for change, and then making sure that we have a president, I cannot put my partisanship aside, a Democratic president, who will take that office and use it to protect the streets and the kids that grow up on those streets, and make sure that we once again have an assault weapon ban, a Brady bill with the full force of the law on the land, because we need somebody in the Oval Office that moves this Congress. We had an election about change. People are clear about the special interests. They are tired of that gridlock that special interests cause in Washington. And I think the most simple thing we can do, and we've got to make this a #1 issue as a test vote and then take it into the election. That is, if you are on the no-fly list because you are known as maybe a possible terrorist, you cannot buy a handgun in America. And I am not one far from liking the mixing of politics and policy, but as my old boss used to say, give me that vote and throw me into that briar patch. I'll make politics out of that every day, because if it's between that terrorist list and the NRA, I know where America is going to be every time, and they're going to make the right choice, and we have got to start building on that. That is the right thing to take into the election, and it's the right policy. That if you're on that no-fly list, your access to the right to bear arms is canceled, because you're not part of the American family. You don't deserve that right. There is no right for you if you're on that terrorist list. That should be #1 in what we do. Make sure there's a full force of the law behind the Brady bill. So to all those who dedicate their lives to seeing sensible gun laws, remember, it's sensible gun laws, police on the beat, giving our kids an alternative to that street, and making sure that we have the drug laws so people, because those are the types of people who are most access to the most violent types of crimes.
Hello everyone, Darko 2012 here with Global Government News. I'm reading an article titled Behind the Scenes Crafting the U.S. No-Fly List. This is the notorious no-fly list. And you just heard Rahm Emanuel, President Obama's chief of staff, who was calling for a need for something to be done as far as if you're on the no-fly list, well, you can't purchase a gun. It sounds all good and well and everything, but if you're a Nazi and you love the Nazi policies that Hitler and the SA and the SS and all of them used as far as gun control goes, disarming your slaves is the biggest thing you want to do before you take power and you strip sovereignty and you begin tyranny begins. That's just what you do. You disarm them. Anybody that's going to resist you. And you just need to get enough people to buy onto that lie. So, and when you move down here in the original video from up here in February 2009, it says, in September 2007, the Inspector General of the Justice Department reported that the Terrorist Screening Center, the FBI-administered organization that consolidates terrorist watch list information in the United States, had over 700,000 names in its database as of April 2007, and that list was growing by an average of 20,000 records per month. And I'll post the link here for that as well. So let's get to it. It starts with a tip, a scrap of intelligence, a fingerprint lifted from a suspected terrorist home. It ends when a person is forbidden to board an airplane, a decision that's in the hands of about 6 experts from the TSA, or Transportation Security Administration. The same people that ranted and raved and said they are God as they were screaming profanity to passengers just last year. And also trying to plant illegal drugs or substances onto females so that they can frisk them. These are the same people. The no-fly list they oversee constantly changes as hundreds of analysts churn through a steady stream of intelligence. Managing the list is a high-stakes process. Go too far in one direction, and innocent travelers are inconvenienced. Go in the other direction, and a terrorist might slip onto an airplane. So when I see this, the first thing I think is, go too far in one direction, the innocent travelers might be inconvenienced, such as 6-year-old boys who are Boy Scouts and 90-year-old ladies who, were G.I. Janes working during World War II, doing their part in the war effort, working on a sewing machine back in the 30s or the 40s. So, and then when you say go in the other direction, and someone might slip onto an airplane. Oh, are we talking about the underpants bomber who had botched explosives in his underpants, who was later found to be an operative for the intelligence agencies? Someone like that who didn't have a passport and who was reportedly escorted on to the airplane without a passport, and who should have been on the no-fly list and had his visa pulled because his father had warned U.S. authorities about him. But no, that doesn't matter. You see, because it's all used for you, the American slave. Or, since we live in a global world now and a global government, there could be anybody on this planet that's a slave. And it's about you. If you're just an innocent person who respects your privacy and liberty, well then, this no-fly list is for you. It's not for real terrorists. It could take minutes to put a name on the list, or it could take hours, days, or months. That's because the list is only as good as the nation's intelligence and the experts who analyze it. If an intelligence lead is not shared, or if an analysis is unable to connect one piece of information to another, a terrorist could slip onto the airplane. Officials allege that just one took place ahead of the attempted Christmas Day attack on the Detroit-bound jet. In the months since the arrest of Nigerian Umar Faruk Abdul Muttalib, the son of a wealthy man, the no-fly list, much like Osama bin Laden, the no-fly list has nearly doubled from about 3,400 people to about 6,000 people. According to a senior intelligence official, the list expanded in part to add people associated with Al-Qaeda's Yemen branch and others from Nigeria and Yemen with potential ties to Abdul Muttalib. A counterterrorism official said, the no-fly list has been one of the government's most public counterterrorism tools since September 11th, 2001 attacks, where your government allowed it to happen. Adding more people to the list could make Americans safer when they fly, all in the name of security. Just give us your liberty. But it could also mean more cases of mistaken identity. Current and former intelligence, counterterrorism, and U.S. government officials provided the Associated Press a behind-the-scenes look at how the no-fly list is created. They spoke on condition of anonymity, of course, because they are fascist pigs. Despite changes over time, the list remains an imperfect tool dependent on the work of hundreds of government terrorism analysts who sift through massive flows of information. The list ballooned after 9/11 has fluctuated in size over the past decade. In 2004, it included 20,000 people. The standards for getting it on the list have been refined over years. All you have to be is a privacy, liberty-minded person who loves this country, and you just might make it. And how hard is it to make that list? Let's look at right here. It says law enforcement intelligence agencies nominate terror suspects or people with terror ties for an assessment of whether they pose a threat to air travel. Approximate number of people, February 2010, 550,000. Terrorist identities, data mart environment, tied. Terrorist screening database, 418,000. 18,000 on the selectee list, and on the no-fly list, that's right, 6,000. If you actually believe that, I feel sorry for you.